Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday, and thank you for taking time out of your afternoon for this webinar. As Bev mentioned, this is going to be a two-part series on this platform called SkillBlox, which is an open education resource platform that houses activities from various sites that are openly licensed and or free, and allows you to pull them together in learning sets that you can then share with your learners and other instructors or tutors. So over the course of this first session, we're going to really just focus on what SkillBlox is and how you can use it. So we'll be looking at a few different use cases and then do a very fast, not fast, but a just a walkthrough of how to build SkillBlox. Where you are welcome to, try it yourself as you go. But next session, if you want to dive deeper, we'll be diving more into the mechanics of actually building SkillBlox. And as Bev said, both of these will be recorded. So if you cannot make next Wednesday's session, that recording will be available to you. And then we'll do a quick Q&A wrap up. And I actually should go back a slide. So if anyone wants to, as I'm talking, go ahead and create a SkillBlox account. It's free. This is a free platform. It is free. It always will be free because it's free resources that aren't ours. So you can go to skillblox.org/register and feel free to, as I'm talking and walking through things, create an account. But again, if not, if you just want to sit and watch today, you are welcome to do that as well.
Jeff, why don't we just give people 1 minute to switch a screen and go to SkillBlox and register if they haven't had a chance to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that would be helpful. And thank you for that really helpful screen about how to sign up. I know that.
And your first question that you're going to get, and I'll put it in the chat if you don't feel like typing. First question you'll get is sign up as an instructor or student. You will want to sign up as an instructor.
I think it always takes people a while to think of a new password.
Yeah.
And jot that down somewhere.
10 characters. I had to fight to not, have it not be 16 characters, which is what World Education's IT services team wanted.
So I'm just repeating the link in the chat because we have some new people joining us. And for the new folks who are joining us, if you want to go to skillblocks.org and register, there's the link in the chat, and you can go ahead and do that. We'll just take a couple minutes to give people a chance to do that.
And just so you know, when you hit this last phase here of completing this and clicking sign up, it's going to say that a verification code has been sent to your email. So you'll need to go to your email address, an email account, and open up and get that code and finish the process, because that's what actually finishes your registration, which is common in a lot of sites, but I want to make sure that people make that step.
Yeah, and that will take always an extra minute. So thanks for your patience, Jeff.
No worries.
And if folks, you don't have to sign up for an account right now, but if you're doing it, we just want to make sure you have a minute to do that. And if anyone has any troubles or you're already in, let us know.
All right, so I am actually going to now share a SkillBlox that has all of the materials in today's session. So I'm going to plop this in the chat just so we can actually look at a SkillBlock. And let me open that up for you. So this is going to give you a little bit of a sense of what these things look like. I don't know why I can't click on that. There we go. So what you're about to see is a actual SkillBlock, and this is one that has all of the resources that you will be walking through today. So we're going to be walking through some example SkillBlocks. We are going to be walking through the frameworks that organize content. So just to understand what subjects are in SkillBlocks and how content is organized in the platform in areas like financial literacy and health literacy and civics and digital literacy. we will then look at what resources are actually in the SkillBlox library so that you get a sense of the types of materials that are in there and organized around those subject areas that I just mentioned. Then we're going to look at a set of pre-made skill blocks that are all reading focused. I know this is a lot of folks are tutors, and in that you're probably focused on literacy. And this is a set of readings that we have pulled together so that you can get a sense of what a reading skill block might look like. And this is a set of actually 62 readings that are all organized the same way that you can use as is and share with learners, or if you have a SkillBlox account, you can customize and add in your own activities or remove things as you see fit. And then just a couple of bonus things in here. And these are more maybe for next session, but thinking about if you want to design activities to add to your SkillBlox. SkillBlox is a platform that allows you to pull in things from the library of curated resources that we have, but it also allows you to create your own things and add them to your skill block and share them with learners. And so this is a guide on how to be mindful as you're creating activities for learners. And then the last link in here is a set of just the overview and the guides of skill blocks, which I want to note that some of the things you're going to see today, not next week, we're not doing any development right now, but in the coming weeks, we are in the midst of a Institute for Education Sciences grant. So we are constantly making updates to certain things, like actually the login screen is one that in the coming weeks will look very different and be much more simplified because feedback that we got was it was a bit challenging for learners. Without further ado, I am going to continue and look at the first resource that's in your the skill block that I just shared. And this is a set of example skill blocks that you can look at just to get a sense of what you might do with skill blocks. So there is a set of 6 skill blocks in here that focus on different topic areas such as workforce, digital literacy, health literacy. We're going to look at one in particular called Solve Problems Using YouTube. And we're going to do an activity called a See, Think, Wonder. So as someone who works with learners on occasion, this is a strategy that I use to sort of set engagement for learners. And I'm going to share my screen and share this skill block. And I'm going to ask you to just answer 3 questions. What do you see? What do you think? And what do you wonder? So we can do that in the chat. We have a small group, so you're welcome to unmute yourself as well. But I actually need to, because I forgot to like log out. I want you to see this just as a student.
So Jeff, can we just double check if anyone is having trouble connecting to that? When you were in that skill block examples sheet, you just click on that first of those nested links, or not nested, the one that says example blocks. So
Yeah.
let us
So
know
yeah,
if you're having any challenges.
yeah, I want to be out of my account. I'm sorry. I copy link and paste. There we go. Yeah, so in this, it's the example blocks, and that will launch you into this block. So as you look at my screen, or maybe you're looking at your own screen, and you should be on Solve Problems Using YouTube. Just take a look, and in the chat, or again, you could unmute yourself. I just want you to answer my first question, which is, what do you see? Very simple. So what do you see on the screen right now? We've at the most basic granular level, just feel free to add in the chat what you see. 3 colored icons on the right. What else do you see? Lots of text. Okay. Two options, Baktion, introduction and use. Magnifying glass and a camera icon. Okay. All right, I'll move on to my next question. So as you're looking at these things, what do you think? What do you think it is you see? In terms of maybe what one does with this. What do you think this is? You see an access code, click on one of the option boxes to either get a lesson or do some practice. Okay. Activities to complete. All right, so we see two different things here. These are things that you could complete. Someone had mentioned three colored icons here. What do you think you might do with these? You think you see information about using YouTube? Okay. Print, share, save. Exactly. Great. Okay. Um, so yes, what you see are two different options or a sequence of activities that you can complete. This is information about using YouTube, and you do have the ability to print this. As you can see here, you do have the ability to share this with others, and you do have the ability to save it if you want to save it to your account if you have an account. But you'll note I did not need an account to access this, which is a really very good first important point to make is learners do not need access in order to, or account, excuse me, in order to access a skill block that you have created or that you might want to use with learners. All right, so what do you wonder about this skill block that I am showing you?
Jeff, I have a question.
Yep.
Can people use a screen reader to read the text to them?
It is accessible in the sense that I can tab from element to element. I think you would need a screen reader in order to
Listen to
have
the audio?
read
Yeah.
to you. Yeah.
Okay.
What do you wonder in terms of what you're looking at on the screen in terms of this skill block? Anything that you wonder? Is it applicable to my English language drop-in class? What's going to happen when we click on the steps? Great. So good questions. So it could be. So in this case, this is a skill block. What is the literacy level for learners who can use the skill blocks? That's a great question. So this is a skill block that I actually created, but I created it using an activity that another teacher had created. And this is for helping learners learn how to solve problems using YouTube. So you can see that there's an introduction that's providing an overview of what this skill blocks is covering. And then you can see there's two activities in here. One is learn and one is practice. And the learn, if I click on it, is a link that is leading to another site. And this is a course on searching for videos with YouTube. So this is a whole set of lessons that helps learners understand how to use YouTube, what it is, how to search. And then the second activity in here is a engagement activity that is actually built using a tool called Padlet. So this is something I created, or actually I adapted from what another teacher created. And it has a set of scenarios where, in this case, We have three different problems that people are encountering in real life scenarios. So car battery is dead, a button has fallen off on a suit, or someone's injured their finger, and asking learners to apply this skill and go to YouTube to try to find a video that helps them solve the problem that each one of these people has encountered. So what you see is essentially a pair of activities, one that I grabbed actually from the SkillBlox library, and then one that I added myself that provides a lesson, a digital literacy lesson in this point, that focuses on helping students understand that if you know how to use YouTube, you can actually answer lots of questions for yourself because it's this massive library of content available for any number of things and finding information on it. So this would be the starter for me on engaging on information literacy and how to search for information online and how to evaluate information online as well. So SkillBlox is a platform that allows you to pull things like that together. And so now we're going to walk through what SkillBlox is and how we actually go about building that. So SkillBlox is a platform of over 9,000 now and counting open education resources, which are openly licensed and freely available resources that in most cases you have the ability to adapt, adjust as you see fit. And I just want to go back to Shanti's question on what is the literacy level for learners who can use the SkillBlox. We'll get into that in a second. You didn't see it on that screen, but I'm going to show you how you can learn that information. And it's something that we're actually building in as part of the development that I mentioned earlier. So essentially what SkillBlox allows you as a teacher or tutor to do is, as an account holder, you can go and search for content by skill or by topic. So it might be based on a topic within financial literacy that maybe you want to have learners learn about, or something with civics, being active in your community, or health, how to make an appointment with your doctor. And you can search by frameworks that have topics within different areas, such as health literacy and financial literacy that I just walked through, or by keyword. And when you do a search in SkillBlox, you get a list of activities that have been curated and evaluated and are in the SkillBlox library and aligned to or tagged to those keywords that you can go through and examine and select. And you select one or more than one activities as you do a search, and then you can pull those into a skill block. So a skill block for your intents and purposes could be just a playlist. It could be a set of readings that are, you want learners to have access to. It could be more of a lesson structure like what I just showed you with Solve Problems with YouTube, where there's a learning component and then there's some sort of application component that you build in. It could even be a set of resources for yourself. So maybe you want to pull different readings or different lessons or articles on a particular topic that you have available in your library. And then as learners might have a question on things, or as you might want to share individual activities within that skill block or the whole skill block, you can do so. So it allows you to customize. As someone had said, there were lots of words on there. Those were words that I added. Those were directions. But you can add directions and add things that provide learners with guidance if you are actually sharing the skill block with students, or you could just have a list of resources that you just want to have tucked away and organized for yourself for a particular purpose. So in today's session, we are going to focus on this process of finding resources and looking at what resources are in the SkillBlox library. We will focus on the reading activities that are in there. There's a whole bunch of other things, but we have 3 really high quality sets of readings. Reading skills for today's adults, a set of ESL literacy readers from a college in Canada called Bow Valley College, They have ebook versions and PDF versions of their readings, and then a set of student-written articles from a magazine that we run at World Education called The Change Agent. And so these are all things that you can find within SkillBlox and use with your learners. And we'll look at how you can search the SkillBlox library to find these materials either by topic, or even if you just want to see, I just want to see all of the reading skills for today's adults readings, how you can do that. We're then going to look at how you can build those into a skill block. So how do you create a skill block that brings in maybe multiple readings or one reading, and then activities that you decide that you want to provide additional guidance for students from. So that's going to be our focus, is just really finding resources in skill blocks and building a very basic skill block. In the next session, we are going to look at more of details in terms of how you can create skill blocks and customize them. So how do you add directions? How do you bring in your own activities, and thinking about different ways that you might use it and customize it and share it with your learners. So looking at how to share it and thinking of strategies for how you might do that based on your learners. And then we're going to also look at ways that you can use skill blocks to build community, essentially. So we have lots of tools in skill blocks that allow you to create a profile so that you can share the things that you've created with the world, and other people can see those on your profile if you want to have a profile, and even ways that you can connect with other skill blocks users. Our goal for skill blocks is to really start building community and building how teachers and tutors are creating things and sharing. We are a nonprofit organization. This is a free platform. So the platform is only as good as the content that is in it and the content that gets generated in it. So as part of our research grant, we are looking at strategies for helping teachers connect, helping you find like-minded tutors or teachers, and following and being able to use the great work that others have done, so that we aren't all just reinventing the wheel every single time we want to teach a topic or share a reading with learners. So today, and over the course of the next 2 weeks, you're going to learn how to become a blocks builder. And so what you'll be able to do is create reading lists, so blocks that have readings, how to take something that we've created or other teachers have created and build and adapt on that, so that you, again, can benefit from the work that others have done if they've shared it, and learn how to take what you've created and personalize it for learners. So one of our goals is for folks to create things that they know they can use, and then be able to use it over and over again with different learners in different settings, and understand how, if you have it built once, you can adjust it for different contexts or different learners that you might be working with. So really quickly, I'm going to just go into a history of why we created the SkillBlox platform. So back in 2017, we actually started an organization called Crowded Learning, which is now part of World Education. And the problem that we were trying to solve as a nonprofit organization was, we recognized that there were lots of really high quality free resources floating in the internet, but recognizing that time is the most important resource that teachers have or often don't have. And so while it's wonderful that all of these things exist out there, when you do a search for anything, you have to evaluate it. So you have to consider, is it accurate? Is the information current? If it's informational content, is it engaging for learners? Is this something that learners will actually enjoy? And is it aligned to what learners want to learn, or in the case of formal education systems, to the standards that teachers need to teach? And so we started going about looking at how can we solve that. And so think about, we know there's all these great resources out there. They're scattered in different websites and different places. So what if we started taking the best of the best from what's out there and aligning it to specific skills and topics? And so instead of doing, say, a search on a particular topic and seeing a laundry list of different websites. What if we actually did the curation of that and that you then had to go to all of these different websites? What if we did that work for you so that you could look for a particular skill or topic and then see a listing of different activities that you know align to that particular topic. And then your job is to see, do I like this website that has these readings, or do I want video content for this? And you can see that all in one place. So it's pulling from multiple places into one place for you to start making decisions about what resources you like or what types of resources you want to use with learners. And then tools that allow you to integrate this in a way that makes sense for you. So recognizing that there's all sorts of different ways that teachers teach and learners learn, having the flexibility to be able to pull different things together in the way that makes sense for how you are engaging with learners and or how you are sharing lessons or activities with learners. So we actually started with something very simple. We knew that Khan Academy was very popular as a math resource, but one of the things that adult education teachers get frustrated with is it's not aligned to the adult ed standards or, say, the GED test. And so we took all of the Khan Academy lessons and aligned them to the college and career readiness, which is standards, which is a set of standards that's used for most formal adult education programs in the United States. And then we also recognized that educators were using publisher resources that they liked because, one, it's consistent format, and two, the publishers provide their alignments to those standards. And so we built out basically a proof of concept, if you will, called SkillBlox that allowed teachers to find the resources that they use from publishers. So we partnered with publishers and got their alignments so that teachers could go, I use this book. And so if I want to teach this skill, I want to see what lessons from this book align. So teachers could start there and add those activities to their skill blocks, but to their block that they're creating. But then they also had access to all of these free and open resources that they didn't have time to sift through, but now we've done the sifting for them. So they could augment a print lesson with a Khan Academy video or other content from other websites that provide more options for learners and oftentimes more engagement for learners because there's videos and simulations and things that the print materials and oftentimes the publisher materials that students have access to don't have. And they could pull that all together. And so that was the concept of SkillBlox. And we actually launched in March of 2020, which if you're thinking back to your March of 2020, you probably know what you were doing or weren't doing, which was being in person with anybody. So we suddenly had released this platform that had all these free resources, which teachers needed and wanted because they suddenly had to be teaching online. We soon thereafter realized that just having these resources was not enough. Teachers appreciated having all this great content, but they needed to be more effective in understanding how to actually use those with learners. So we started a professional development model called the EdTech Makerspace, which actually engages teachers in service learning where they learn how to use these resources and even learn how to create their own resources. And all of those resources actually go into SkillBlox. So I said there's 9,000 resources in SkillBlox. About 5,000 of those have been generated by teachers. So either curated through the EdTech Makerspace or even designed by teachers and then added into this. And so that's kind of where we're going with this, is building this ecosystem of a content library of vetted resources that we continuously add to and build upon through teacher engagement. So what we're going to look at today, and this is an EdTech Makerspace that's actually happening, is one of the resources in SkillBlox is Reading Skills for Today's Adults. And each one of these readings has a story that is leveled. And so they're leveled for early literacy levels, so from grades K to what's called level D in those standards, so middle school level. So each one of these 345 stories passages has a story. It also has audio that models fluency for learners. And it also has a supplemental worksheet that has activities for skill building in language, in writing, in speaking, and in comprehension. So this is a resource that already exists. It exists out in the world, and we've pulled all of the content into the SkillBlox platform so that they're all packaged together for you to use. But we've also engaged teachers in creating supplemental resources to go with it. So all 345 of those stories also has a study set of vocabulary using a platform called Quizlet, which are interactive study sets, and a Google Forms quiz that students can actually go in and take the quiz after they've read the story, and they get immediate feedback as to whether or not they answered those questions correctly. So the two things on the right were developed by teachers through the makerspace. We're currently pulling all of these things into SkillBlox. The stories are already in there. And right now we're working with teachers to actually build out facilitated lessons that go with each of the readings, not each of them for one level. So about 30 or 40 lessons will be coming out of this, but this is our first attempt at actually having teachers design facilitated lessons that go with content in SkillBlox. But in about 2 months' time, you're going to have access to about 20 to 30 lessons that are at first to third grade level reading. And they practice modeling of the skills. So it provides facilitation for you, an instructor, on how to model a skill like asking the 5 W's, so who, what, where, when, why, as you're reading. And they also have graphic organizers that are printable or interactive that you could use with learners to help them, map out and model that thinking to sort of scaffold the metacognition that goes into being an effective reader. And so this is what the makerspace does for SkillBlox, is builds out these resources. So now we're going to actually look at building a blocks and start seeing what's actually in SkillBlox. So in the thing that I shared earlier, the first skill block that I shared, and I'm going to escape out of here. So this one, and I will put it back in the chat. But it's the second one in the skill blocks that we share. These are the subject areas for adult learners. So I'm sharing this just so you understand how content is organized within the SkillBlox platform. So we have created these frameworks that basically provide high interest topics in areas that we know are relevant to adult education students. In the areas of civics education, digital literacy, financial literacy, health literacy, and workforce preparation. So the guide that I'm sharing now just provides you with a listing of all of the things that are all of these frameworks. And I share this so that you know how you can navigate content in SkillBlox. So everything in SkillBlox is aligned to these frameworks, meaning that within the SkillBlox platform, if you say wanted to find something on budgeting, you could go to financial literacy, and then you could navigate to budgeting, spending, and banking and see that there's 4 subtopics in there. And then you could navigate specifically to any one of these topics within budgeting and spending. And this is the level to which content is aligned. So like there might be readings or videos or simulations that align specifically to this particular topic. And so everything in SkillBlox has been aligned to this, and then within the platform, you can search by keyword, or you can navigate to financial literacy, to budgeting, spending, and banking, to budgets and spending plans, and get here. And then when you click on it, you see all of the activities that align. I find this to be a helpful resource because it just gives people a sense of everything that's in there. People like to kind of see things in one place as opposed to having to click around to see things. So that's just a resource that I'm sharing with you.
Jeff, I see a question in the chat from Richard. Are the readings in the makerspace only for grade levels 1 through 3?
The ones that we're focused on in this makerspace that's in the process of happening right now is for levels 1 through 3. I'm going to go back to that slide though. Our ultimate goal with what the output will be is these lessons that go with those stories only, but it will be a subset of those 345 lessons. And so there'll be a guide that's available as well as a set of all of these templates. The goal is to help have a good curriculum, a set of readings that has this same structure, but then also has all of the tools that make you able to recognize how for any story within SkillBlox, you could very easily create a template for, say, having students do the 5 W's on a story that's at level 5 or grade level 5 or grade level 7. So we're providing a lot of templates in the what's going to come out of this so that not only do you have the lessons that are done, but you have all of the tools available to actually do that same thing with any of the stories in the Reading Skills for Today's Adults library, or any story in general, because it really is just focused on how do you model reading instruction or reading skill for learners, and how can you provide learners with graphic organizers and activities that help them practice and apply it in a kind of a gradual release model of I'm going to do it, we're going to do it, you do it. So that's, yeah, to answer that question, the materials we'll be developing are for those levels, but the stories range for all the levels up to middle school, and the templates will be available for you to use for all of those as well. So I'm not going to dive, all of those pages can be printed. Yeah, the PDF that I shared with you obviously can be printed. All of the stories for Reading Skills for Today's Adults can be printed. All of the Bow Valley College readers can be printed. All of the Change Agent ones can be printed. Yeah, so actually to your point, maybe you're pulling together stories that you want to use and you have them in one place, and then you're printing out the stories for learners. So there's no requirement that SkillBlox is something that you're having learners go into. It might be your own personal tool for gathering stories and readings that you want to use with learners and then printing those stories out. Absolutely. So just to give you a sense of all of the content that is in SkillBlox. So as I mentioned, in March of 2020, we actually started with math. Math was the only content that we had in there. But so we have a set of really engaging, we have interactivities and ebooks that have simulations. Khan Academy is obviously something folks might be familiar with if you work with learners in math. These are the main readings or reading and vocabulary tools that we have in here. We are going to be adding a language building or grammar platform called Quill, which allows for students to practice language skills, so on the grammar side and punctuation side. And those are all interactive. Those are coming in the next couple of months. But I mentioned we have Bow Valley College, Reading Skills for Today's Adults, and Change Agent. Part of why I'm even here is when Bev reached out to me. I know there's a great set of student-written stories called the Adult New Reader series that is in California. We are in the process of pulling those in a way that makes sense. They're available in multiple formats, so we're going to be adding those in the next few months as well. And I love having I'm kind of a goal of mine in the next year is to bring in more student stories, because I think that's so powerful for just creating relevance for learners, that stories that are telling the stories of other adult learners. Learning Chocolate is a great language learning platform. So it's just all vocabulary and these interactive sets that are on any number of topics, and those are all in here as well. Digital literacy is another big area because we do a lot of work at World Education on digital literacy. So we pulled from all of these sites and more and curated all these resources to the digital literacy framework that you saw on the pages that I was showing earlier. We also have great civics resources that are from USCIS and from Smithsonian Institute. So if you have students that are working towards citizenship, there's some great resources in there. We have a lot of financial literacy resources in there as well. What's nice about some of the ones that are coming from banking institutions like Bank of America and Visa are they are available in English and Spanish. So there's multilingual resources available in the platform. We have some ESOL health literacy content in there and some workforce preparation content. What I'm showing you on these screens are websites that are specifically dedicated to teaching concepts in these areas. But what's nice is all of the readings from Reading Skills for Today's Adults and Bow Valley and Change Agent. Those are also aligned to these topic areas. So if students are interested in things around health literacy, there's likely a handful of stories, readings that are leveled readings for adults that align to the health literacy topic that you're looking at. So these are all teaching resources, but those reading libraries that I shared at the start are also aligned to these areas. So you can find some great content that is reading focused, but related to these topic areas. So now we're going to jump into SkillBlox. And I'm actually going to first hop over to number 4 in the skill blocks that I shared, which is a set of ready-to-go skill blocks that are available to you. And these are adaptations of reading skills for today's adults. So I'm going to put this link in the chat. And so what you'll see on screen is a set of 62 skill blocks that are all at our what we call level A, and our level A is the College and Career Readiness Standards level A. And I should probably actually add that in terms of the information that's here, which I will do between now and next week so that people know what grade level equivalency these are. But these are the stories that are at about to grade level 1 and grade level 2 and lower. But what you can see here is they all have 3 activities in them because we've created them all in the same exact way. So if I click on any one of these, such as too much sitting, which I feel like today, my back really hurts today for some reason. This is one of the reading skills for today's adults stories. And in it, what you see here is a link to the vocabulary study set. So this is the vocabulary that goes with this story. And this is on a platform called Quizlet. So when it launches, I don't know why it's taking so long, but these are vocabulary terms from this story, Too Much Sitting. So you have a vocabulary interactive resource that students could do on their mobile device. Then we have the actual story. So I'm going to launch into this story. And this is the reading skills for today's adults library, and this is the story. So what you'll see here is the story. Now, this website was designed to provide leveled readings and with a real focus on fluency. And so what you'll see here, you see these numbers, that's the word count on a line-by-line basis. And you'll see there's also even a timer. So if you wanted to focus on fluency, with learners, this has the word counts and then it has the timer. And then you'll also see there's 3 recordings, and these 3 recordings are at different speeds. The first recording is the slowest, and it really is focused on decoding. So word by word. So if we listen to one of these, and I didn't share my audio here.
Level 1. He sits down to eat breakfast. He sits on the bus to work.
So it really is focused on more of a word-by-word decoding. The second reading gets more into putting in pauses, and so understanding how to like chunk text as you read. And then the third reading is with full fluency and prosody and intonation. So it has this audio practice that goes with each of the readings. And then the third thing that is in this skill block and all of the other ones that are on what I shared is a comprehension quiz. So this is a Google form that students can read the story, and you could actually just share this if you wanted to, because it actually has the link to the story right in it. So this has comprehension questions that go with the story, and students simply answer them. And then when they finish, as you probably know with the Google form, it submits it, and then the students can see their results. So I'm sharing this first because maybe you just, you're not into creating things, you just want things that are ready to use. So in and of itself, we are building out level A, B, C, and D of reading skills for today's adults. We only have level A up there right now. But what you'll have once all of these are done are these ready to go skill blocks that you can open, and you could share each one just directly with learners. You could point learners to this page and bookmark it on their phone. And then they have the ability to open all of these and have reading practice that's at level in these different areas. And all of these are also things that you can take and you could save to your own account, or you actually have the ability to also make a copy of it. And then, so say you wanted to add something else to this skill block, you can do that. Next session is when we'll walk through how to do that. So just note that everything that we Crowded Learning build into our skill blocks, we build it in such a way so that others can make copies and cut it down or add to it as they see fit. It's also great because tutors. Yeah, exactly. So that is the great thing, is part of our goal with skill blocks was actually just in and of itself, let teachers look for something. Oh, they discovered reading skills for today's adults, and they fall in love with reading skills for today's adults. You can use reading skills for today's adults without skill blocks. So part of our goal is also just to introduce teachers and anyone who works with learners, introduce them to things that are out there that they may not have known existed. And that's a huge win in my mind, is that we've introduced teachers to something that they did not know existed before, and they find really helpful for their learners. So now I'm going to walk through, in the last 10 minutes that we have, just really the process of building I'm going to really take 5 minutes to build a block. So again, this is going to be a turbo version of building a skill blocks. Next week, our entire focus will be on the actual walkthrough of doing it. But we're going to very quickly find learning activities. We're going to save activities to our block. We'll do quick customization just to show how you add different pieces to a skill block, and then I'll show you how to share it. So I'm going to go back to the page that I was at, or just any skill blocks page. And this is the login screen. And I'm going to go to login, and I already have my account in here, but if you created a username, you can use your username or your email and then your password. And now I'm in. Now, when I log into skill blocks, you're going to see I have a bunch of skill blocks on this page because I use it a lot. And so these are just a bunch of different ones that we've created. Now I'm going to go to create a new skill blocks, and this is how one starts the process of creating one. Now, skill blocks has a library, as I've said earlier, of 9,000 plus curated resources. So you can start building a skill block by first searching the library and finding something that you want to use as the basis, or you can actually start with a blank skill block, and maybe you have a reading, an external reading, or a video, or anything that you want to use as the basis. You can do that as well. But we're going to start by searching for activities so that you see how that goes. Now, if you remember the frameworks document that I shared, so that has how content is organized. So again, I could use a keyword and search by that, or I could search by subject area frameworks. So we just had an election this week, so maybe vote is one that I want to type in. And so when I do that, I see there's a bunch of different activities in here that are tagged or have vote as a keyword. And then you can see, as I look at this list, different logos. And so these all come from different resources. 3 of them you've seen earlier today. So there are a bunch from the Change Agent, which is that student-written magazine. There's a few from USCIS, and these are PDFs that are, let's just take a look at one. So this is just a PDF on reading about, and the voting in here is included in the rights and responsibilities. So that's why it's tagged as vote. So it's not specifically focused on voting, but it's in there. You'll see reading skills for today's adults stories. You'll see some things from iCivics. These are videos from Crash Course. And then these are those ESL readers from Bow Valley College. So for all of these, you can see I have the ability to click on it and open it. I have the ability to see more details about it. We are in the process of doing all of this tagging. So a lot of them you'll see nothing up here right now. These are new views that we need to do on the back end. But you can go through and look at these different resources. So maybe I want to look at this thing from Change Agent. And it's about voting and how to vote and how to stay engaged. And now this is a higher level reading, but I'm going to go ahead and select it. And I'm just going to indiscriminately, this is one for reading skills for today's adults. This is on why vote. And I'm going to go ahead and click save. And so now I have a skill block that I have created. And the one that I added from Change Agent is actually a set of slides, and you'll see that it's hidden. And there's some different things here that it's requires adaptation, and it's an instructor-facing resource. So if I click on it, I see that this is something for me to, if I'm a teacher, classroom teacher, to maybe use with students. And so it's giving guidance on how I could make my own copy of this if I want to, or I could use the one as it is here. And so this is actually a facilitated walkthrough of this article that was developed by the Change Agent. And sorry, just speed, this might take a while. But it's actually a slides version of the Change Agent story. So maybe I want to use this if I'm doing more of a whole class setting and maybe students are reading out loud. There was a PDF version of it as well. I must have not clicked on the right one. But so that's one of the resources. And then this is the why vote that comes from reading skills for today's adults. And so you can see that this is, obviously I would have previewed it previously, but this is obviously a higher level reading as well. So there was a question that was asked previously on how do I know what the level is of these activities? So one of the things, I'm going to go back and select more learning activities. I'm going to go to vote again and do that search. So one of the things that's not in place yet, but will be, is first off, we will have a resource guide that actually walks through all of the different resources that are in here and provides information about the level, the formats, anything you need to know, whether it requires a login, so that you can start making decisions about the resources that are appropriate for your learners. And when you get to that point, and when we have that, or maybe you love reading skills for today's adults, when you do a search like this, you can always filter to just see the particular resource that you want. But one of the other things that we're building, and this will come over time, is we can see these statistics about how often the activity has been used. But you can also see the learner levels that it's aligned to. And this is a new feature and it's not correct. So don't look at it right now. But once this gets adapted, what actually will over time and over usage, this will be is a bar graph. We're not dictating the level of how things are used because we don't want things to be filtered out based on decisions we've made. What this is eventually going to be over time is as teachers add activities to their skill blocks and they tag their skill blocks to the learner levels, is you'll get a graphical view of how often this is used or it's built into skill blocks, say at this level. So the information about appropriate level is kind of going to come over time with usage, and we're in the midst of a pilot that's going to be starting in January that goes for 6 months, where there's going to be intensive tagging of these resources. So over time and usage, basically, and this is research, so who knows if this is how it's going to plan out, but this is what we're hoping pans out, is ideally you start seeing kind of a bell curve, if you will, of how often this is being used with different learner levels, so that the guidance around level is really based on teacher decision making and use with their students, not a group of people in a room deciding this is good for these particular levels. The other thing that you'll be able to see in the spring, this is available to me and not to certain users, is you'll actually be able to see, okay, this is a skill activity, but I can actually see skill blocks that others have created that use this activity. And so maybe you find a great reading and I want to see how others are using this reading, and maybe I'm going to actually use a skill block that someone else has created. We'll dive more into this next week, but this is all information that's provided. I'm going to go back to my skill block that I created and just show you that now I have the skill blocks, and now I can add a title. And that's it. I can see what I see as an instructor, but I can also, if you remember, this is hidden, I can go to student view. And so the only thing right now in the skill blocks that I've created is the reading. And maybe that's all I want. I have the ability, now that I have this, to share this skill block with students as a link. I could share it, I could print it as a PDF. I could share it by other means. I could also just share this individual link with students. So maybe I just, again, want to build a set of things, and I just want to copy the URL for that and share it with the learner however I would want to share it with learners. That's how I might do this. I'm going to just save and exit now. And what I see is this has now been added to my list of skill blocks that I have created. So again, that was a very basic walkthrough of building a skill block, but next week, we'll get into how you can add directions for each of these. You can add directions for students. You could even add guidance for yourself as an instructor or other instructors. Maybe one person wants to take the reins on building skill blocks and then sharing them with other instructors or tutors. That's all possible with the way that skill blocks has been built. We'll dive into that in more depth next week. So I know we're at time. So I'm just going to really quickly walk through what we will learn next week. So we will dive deeper into creating a skill blocks and customizing it, adding your own content, ways that you can, if you want learners to create accounts, monitor their progress using skill blocks. We'll also dive into how you can search by a particular resource so that you can just find the things from the resources that you want. And then we'll get into things like sharing skill blocks publicly so that anyone can see what you've created, and maybe creating a page for yourself as a tutor so that others can go to your page and see the skill blocks that you've created, as well as how you could build something called stacks, which allows you to basically build a set of skill blocks like that one that I shared that had all of those level A stories. So maybe you just want to create a library of skill blocks that are specifically focused on a topic or for a certain learner or for a set of learners that they can always access at any times. And then we'll look at how you can add learners and have them actually save skill blocks so that they can check off things as they complete them. And I just want to mention that if you don't join us next session, that's fine, but we are adding a lot of ESL resources in the coming months. So things from a platform called Ellie, things from IRC, the International Rescue Commission, and a website called USA Hello, which is focused on immigrant integration. So they have a lot of great content, multilingual for things that are relevant to adults looking to integrate into the United States and become active in their community. And that's it. I know we went a couple minutes over, and I apologize for that, but we will do a deeper dive into all of those things next week. So hopefully you can join us and really get into building skill blocks for your learners.
Thank you, Jeff.